How is language put to use? Now let us look at how the children learn language. That was one thing that we discussed, but also how they use the language. Now let me remind you over here the difference between competence and performance that the universal grammar makes. So what is competence? Competence, as you would remember, is the knowledge of language that is in the minds of the learners. It is there in the subconscious. They might or might not be aware of it, but it is the language knowledge that they have not as yet used. To assess competence, we have certain experiments, certain computational systems by which this competence or this subconscious knowledge of the language in the minds of the learners is assessed. Now coming to performance. What do we mean by performance? By performance, we mean how a language is used in real life. It is the domain of the theories related to language use. How are languages, when they are learned, how they are used in actual environments. This also relates to information processing. What is the significance of this difference? Now we need to remind us that not everyone makes this distinction between performance and competence, and this difference is strongly contested among the researchers. But what is the difference if we make this distinction or if we don't make this distinction? The difference is in the understanding of the error or mistake versus lack of knowledge. So, as teachers, for instance, when you check a student and you find you can trace a mistake in the work that has been done, so you would be able to sort of make a hypothesis or think about it, that it is a possibility that the mistake that occurs over there on the copy is not because lack of knowledge, rather it is just a slip. So as a teacher, you need to know that there is a difference between lack of knowledge, that means the child is simply not aware of the concept, and a mistake that he or she knows the concept, but there has been some sort of slip. In any case, whenever we talk about information processing, we talk about language use, it takes us into the domains of psycholinguistics and sociolinguistics, because we need to take into account the environment of the in which the language is being used, what are the variables in there, and also the psychological state and the information processing mechanisms that are there in the mind of the learner. So again, if I would ask you, coming back to our classroom teaching of the second language, how would it inform my teaching of the second language? Now, competence, if we say, is about knowing, and performance is about doing, you would remember what we do most of the times with us learners is focused on competence. We try to focus that the learners should know the grammatical rules, they should know the basic principles, they should know the definitions of nouns, adjectives, and verbs. But what we focus less on is the performance. Because the assumption that we have in our mind is that once they know the language, they will also be able to use it. However, this does not happen mechanically, and the trajectory does not somehow fall from competence into performance.